Yes, right.
Good morning, Kahal Kadosh. Good morning, Kahal Kadosh. Beruchim Habaim to everyone. Today, the 12th day of Tevet, corresponding to the 5th day of January. Today's special breakfast and class, graciously sponsored by Mr. Joe Jerome and family, La'elu Nishmat, his beloved father, Mr. Louis Jerome, Eliyahu Ben Esther, Alav Shalom, on the conclusion of the 12th month of his passing. Yehi Ratzon, that to the words of Berachot and Torah, his neshama have an aliyah in Gan Eden. Amen. Additionally, today's class, graciously sponsored by Mr. Albert Dweck, La'elu Nishmat, Mr. Charlie Saka, Yeshaya Ben Lora, Alav Shalom. Additionally, today's class dedicated in honor of Simcha Bar Michal, Tinok Ben Adina Shira, Abraham Ilan Ben Elisheva, Esther Bat Victoria, and David Ben Rosa. May Hashem give him refuah shelema among the Cholim of Am Israel. Amen. Okay, while you enjoy the delicious breakfast, I want to start with the class. But before I'm going to do that, I'd like to clarify a misunderstanding on one of the classes that I gave earlier this week. And since I got a few comments about it, I will clarify it. So this way nobody feels affected by whatever was said in the class. And when I say usually, let me do the talking, but sometimes people interject or they throw in statements. Sometimes those statements, it causes some type of confusion. But nevertheless, I'll assume the responsibility of whatever was said in the class, not by me, but by somebody else. And here is what it was said. I mentioned the other day how throughout history, and especially in America, mostly in America, and recently in Mexico City, there is the, how do I say this? The establishment of cities which are solely Jewish. When I mean solely Jewish, I don't mean Brooklyn, I don't mean Flatbush, I don't mean Miami Beach. I mean cities that literally from the mayor, from the fire chief, from the police department, from the firemen, from the city council, they are all Jewish people, Shomrei Shabbat. This and religious. This exists in America today. You have certain cities, for example, the city of Monroe in New York. You have the city of New Square. You have the city of Casio. 6 months ago, Mexico is opening up, known as the city of Torah. An hour and a half from Mexico City. There is nothing there today. There is not even plumbing. There is no electricity. There is no highway built yet. But Baruch Hashem, the project is ongoing. I do not know how many millions already has been invested between generous members of the community and the Mexican government to make it a city that is solely habitated by Bnei Torah, by young families, large families that are seeking a better quality of life, a more affordable type of life, etc. So it's like Muncie, New Square, Monroe, etc. But there were cities that people were throwing names. And with all the respect to these cities, they are not fully Jewish cities. They are cities in which they have a lot of Jewish people. And God forbid, we don't minimize none of the above. But the message was how we live in a scenario that all these exist. Like you have Jewish schools for Jewish people only. There are cities for Jewish people that the streets are completely shut down on Shabbat, meaning to say there is no traffic on Shabbat, no vehicles drive through. And that's something that I felt the need to clarify, because I got a few phone calls or comments yesterday Why did you speak about my city? Why did you speak about that city? I know it's not my fault, but sometimes people, they feel, so they said, you know what, since I'm a public speaker to a certain extent, when I speak, I don't know who the virtual audience is, and these are the comments that I got. So I said, you know what, it's nothing wrong to clarify and to say mehila if there was a misunderstanding on the message about Jewish city and Jewish environment. I think that this is enough for today on that topic. Now I'm going to switch the topic. Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam She'akol Nihya Bidbaro. Thank you so much. Hazaku Baruch. So interesting enough, the Gemara of today, Mehila, let me open up in Perasha Vayhi, brings out about a beautiful pasuk from today's Perasha. The pasuk that says, Ben Porat Yosef, Ben Porat Ale Ayin. This is definitely one of the most beautiful pesukim out there in the Torah. Now, and usually in the Jewish world, whenever we say something good, for example, somebody comes to you and asks you, how many grandchildren you have? So usually a person will say, Ben Porat Yosef, I have XYZ amount. Okay, that's in the Sephardic words. In the Ashkenazic, what they say, Kenainore. Kenainore, in Yiddish means Kenaore, but it means Kein Ein Hore. That's the way it goes. Beli Ein Hara. In other words, you're blocking the number by saying a pasuk from the Torah. So between Ben Porat Yosef and Kenainore is the Zelbezach, as we say in Yiddish. They mean exactly the same. Now, what is the meaning of this famous pasuk from this week's Torah portion? Ben Porat Yosef, Ben Porat Ali Ayin. In some synagogues, I don't think we do this here, but in some synagogues, people bid for this aliyah. Unbelievable. If you want it, speak to the Mesader. Not me. It's out of my league. I don't get involved in that. I can help you get a beautiful price. By now it's already in 2,600. That's the only thing I know. All right? Not selling anything. Okay? And thank you, by the way, for the generous sponsor of the Kiddush, the additional sponsor, Hazaku Baruch, to him and his family, for generously stepping up to the plate. Don't worry, we still have one co-sponsorship available for Sauda Shelishit. Anybody interested, speak to me after the class. So it says, Ben Porat Yosef, Ben Porat Ali'ain. So the Mefarshim on this Gemara in Masechet Pesachim, in Masechet Zevachim, it says as follows, that you will be fruitful and you will multiply above what your eye is able to see. The eyesight of the person is very limited. My vision reaches up to the wall. I cannot see past the wall. Why? Because the wall blocks me. If I go outside, I can see all the way up to the ocean. If I go to a high rise and I go to the penthouse or the tower suite, I can see the entire city. But with all that being said, there was one particular gift that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave Yosef HaSadik. So in order to explain this a drop better, let me quickly go to the pasuk on the Perasha. Now, the pasuk writes, Ben Porat Yosef. Ben Porat, Rashi says, Ben Hen. A person that has grace. A person that finds favors in other people's eyes. For example, Noah. What was Noah? The pasuk writes, at the end of Perasha Bereshit, the last pasuk If you follow the literal meaning of the verses at the end of Perashat Bereshit, is very depressing. It's very sad. You know what the Perashat there says? God says, I regret that I created mankind. That's what the Pasuk says. It's not me, it's the Pasuk. Nihamti ki asitim. And then how the Perashat says, hold on, God, there is light at the end of the tunnel. There is a nice fellow called Noah. And the Pasuk writes, Noah matzahen be'anei Hashem. Noah found favor in the eyes of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And the question is, what did Noah do that he found favor in the eyes of HaKadosh Baruch Hu? You know the answer is, Noah was Na'im Halichot. He was a person that had a good interaction with people. When you say Na'im Halichot, you know what it means? That his behavior is pleasant. You are a nice guy. We have all kinds of people in any given synagogue, in any given congregation. You have all types of individuals, correct? Yes. You have the nice fellow, you have the tough cookie, you have the short fuse, you have the one that has a lot of patience, a lot of tolerance, and somebody that has zero of any of the above. And you have a fellow that is always laughing and always smiling and always greeting people with a smile, which is beautiful. Ben Yosef, right? That was what Rashi explains. What was the actions of Yosef? Yosef was such a mensch, such a ben adam, adame, you know, that he was able to achieve greatness in life. And where do we learn that this is imperative? I hope that this is not for me. That's 700 calories in 40 grams. And if my wife is watching the class, I'm going to get a Musar call later. All right, so my sweetheart, I'm not touching the sponge cake. The sambusak is a different topic. Anyways, right. Thank you. Give it to somebody that can afford it. Anyways, thank you. Yeah, young boy can use energy. Anyways, what happened with Yosef? Yosef was also Na'im Halichot. Yosef was an individual that his behavior was pleasant, nice. And where do we see that this is more important than Irat Shamayim? Can you, one second. Where do we see this, that this is more than Irat Shamayim? He quoted the Mishnah. I don't want to go to the Mishnah, because that Mishnah has a lot of meanings. Let's concentrate on the simple prayer. Simple meaning of something that we say every day of our life. There is a segment of the tefillah known as the korbanot. That is from Batitpalel Hana till Hashem Melech. And there, right before the Shema of the korbanot, there is a segment that says, listen to the words, please. I want to say it in Hebrew and then I will translate. Le'olam yehe adam yere shamayim baseter kebagalui. 4 levels of behavior this sentence brings upon us. You should know this by heart if you say korbanot every day. If you think that tefillah begins with Hashem Melech, you're missing the foundation of your prayer. Because the korbanot is the foundation of the tefillah. That's why many people have the beautiful concept of coming to the prayer a few minutes before the Hazan begins with Kadeshli Hashem Melech and recites the korbanot. In the korbanot you have the ketoret, you have the akedah, you have the shema, and you have this sentence that I'm saying. Let's translate together the meaning of this short and powerful sentence. It says, Le'olam, forever. Yehe, you should become. Adam, be a person, not an animal, because they are humans, and I apologize in advance that they are humans, but their behavior is closer to the animalistic kingdom and not to the human kingdom. How do we determine if a person is a human or not? Hazaku Baruch. The behavior of the person. Because let's be honest, a human and an animal, God forbid, the intention is not to insult humans, but it's only to understand that unless we change and behave properly, there is not much difference between a four-legged animal and a two-legged person. The animal eats, the human eats. The animal procreates, the human procreates. The animal sleeps, the human sleeps. The animal drinks, the human drinks. Guess what? The animals don't need to work to eat. God sends their food without going to work. Humans need to work. So then what makes the difference between human and an animal? Short answer, medaber.
Intellect.
The intellect, the brain, the power to distinguish, and the power of speech. Those are the three basic differences between a human and an animal. That a human has a brain that is fully functional. The person has the power to distinguish between right and wrong, between day and night, etc. And the humans have the power of communication with another human, irrelevant of your original language. You were born in Egypt. Egypt. Okay, Egypt. The Egyptian cabinet, triumvirate. Okay? He was born in Afghanistan, Bukhara. Okay, not far. Uzbekistan, not far. Okay? Uzbekistan.
Is that Russia?
Close. Don't confuse.
South.
No, just in case, you know.
That time was Russia.
Right. In that time was Russia. Today is his own country. But guess what? His natural language was the Bukharian language. His original language was Arabic. And yet, God gave them the Chokhmah that both of them learn English and they are able to communicate. This is the advantage that the humans have over animals. Then you have Koach HaDibur. You have the power of speech. Yosef says, Rashi, that a person should pray to find favor in the eyes of people. Let's continue. Le'olam yehe Adam. Forever be Adam means what? Adame. Adame. Be a mensch. Then it says, Yere Shamayim. Then become a God-fearing person. And there are two levels of being a God-fearing person. Publicly or privately. Publicly, usually people do better than privately. Because publicly, you are at the eyes of the world. You are exposed. You know, the way people behave, you know, there was a story with a non-Jewish king. May have been Nebuchadnezzar. And one day, I think Tzidkiyahu, the Jewish king, saw him behaving and eating in a way, and I'm not going to tell you how did he eat and what was he eating, because we are eating now. At least you are eating and I'm talking, okay? But I'm going to eat after the class belly nether, okay? No, he was eating in a way that the king, Tzidkiyahu, says to him, King, you are the king. How can you behave this way? What does he say? Who is watching me now? I'm in the privacy of my chamber. This is how a goy, a Gentile, cruel, rude, aggressive criminal type of king thinks. But what Judaism tells us, Yirei Shamayim baseter kebagalui. What do you think? God says, okay, I'm not coming into your house today. No, Borei Olam is everywhere. So comes Rashi and it says, Ben porat al ya'ain. It says, Heno natui al ya'ain haro'e oto. Rashi explains that whoever looked at Yosef Tzaddik saw him in a positive and in a pleasant way. In English they say, don't judge a book by its cover. Okay? The book can be the life of the person. And the cover could be the face of the person. How many times we judge people by the way they look? The way they dress. Somebody simple. It happened to someone that I know well. A very well-to-do person. Well-to-do. I know that for a fact, Baruch Hashem. But simultaneously, very humble. Very humble person. Yeah, he may be sitting next to you, and you don't even know how much this person is worth. And that's a beautiful midah to have. That a person is very successful and is not flashy. It's a great concept. There are people that are flashy, but they are not successful, but they need to show. There are people that are successful and therefore they are flashy. But if you are successful and you're not flashy, that is a beautiful midah to have. So he dresses very simple. Very simple. He walks, and I know this story for a fact. This story happened in Miami. He walks, don't worry, he's not in the room. Stop looking. He's not in the room. Mathaf. He's not in the room. At least not today. Okay? Okay? He walks into a dealership to buy a car. He walked into a Cadillac dealership. This is the type of person that when he buys a car, he doesn't negotiate for a good lease or for a payment plan. He pays the MSRP price. And I told him, next time you're going to buy a car, let me get you somebody that can negotiate for you. He says, I'm not interested. I don't like the nickel and dime. Beautiful thing. Most of us will not do that. Okay? We tell him how much we want to pay. So the salesman looks at him from head to toe. And what does he say? And I apologize in advance, but I'm going to tell you, Cadillac, it's a nice high-ticket item. Correct? He says, you know what? There is a Toyota dealership down the block. I think that you qualify for a Toyota. And if you drive a Toyota, I like the Toyota, by the way. When I travel and they give me options, I usually say, give me a Toyota Camry, comfortable, reliable, beautiful cars. But you know, in the world of vehicles, different cars have different price tag. So what was the reaction of this fellow? He says to the dealer person, to the salesman, thank you very much. Where did he go? Instead of going to the Toyota dealership, he went to the Mercedes-Benz dealership.
Bentley.
Not Bentley. No, I told him not to buy a Bentley.
Okay.
A lot of Ainara. And he bought a Mercedes. The next day, he drove by the dealership of the Cadillac. And he tells the salesperson, he says, don't judge the book by its cover. I came to buy. And he had my check ready to purchase. Obviously, the person apologized, and I think that he got a good lesson for the rest of his life. Hamavdil, it says Rashi, that whoever looked at Yosef, he liked him. It's a gift. It's not automatic that people like a person. It's not automatic that everybody likes everyone. How many times I told you stories that somebody says, I was very upset at you for 11 years. I was very upset at you for 20 years. And me without knowing. But they have the courage of talking to me. And they realize that all these ideas that they fabricated in their mind, it was their own doing. Okay? That's it. And therefore it says, Yere shamayim baseter kebagalui. Please behave yourself at home like you behave on the street. You know that some of the things that I do is not something that I like to do. But unfortunately, I don't do weddings only, or bar mitzvahs, or shiva berachot. Sometimes I need to be a fireman. I need to put out fires when it comes to shalom bayit, or matters which are unpleasant between people. And you know one of the most common statements I hear, and I said I says, what you're telling me is very surprising, because at the synagogue, he behaves very good. And what's the usual line? Rabbi, in front of you, and at the synagogue, everyone is a tzaddik. Once they come home, they remove the mask, and the true self comes out. Hamavdil, this is what this sentence of the tefillah says. Be as nice at home like you are on the street. Will you scream in the middle of the street? No. Will you get upset in a store and start screaming and yelling? No. Why? Because we are watching. Who is watching? But at home, who is watching?
The kid. Your wife.
Your wife. Your kids. Hazaku Baruch. Excellent. Akadosh Baruch Hu. Great answer.
Beautiful.
Continues and it says, what was the essence of Yosef? And it says, the Gemara and explains in this concept that שלא רצה לזון בלהנות מדבר שאינו שלו. It says, you know why Yosef was given this gift about the hamse, about the ayn hara, about the evil eye? Because Yosef was in control of his eyesight. Yosef managed his eyes. It's not easy to activate self-control of our eyes. Sometimes we see things or we look at things which are inappropriate, which are forbidden, which are tempting. And the Mefarshim on this Gemara explains, do you think that Yosef in Egypt was not tempted? He was tempted more than all of us together on a regular basis. The one on top of the list, says the Mefarshim on the Gemara, Potiphar's wife. For a whole year, 3 times a day. Shaharit, Mincha, and Arvit. And I guarantee you that she didn't wear the same outfit twice in the same day. She changed her wardrobe 3 times a day. And she didn't go to the semi-old stores to buy the garments. Okay? No need to go further, out of respect of the female audience. So that's rule number 1. That Yosef, despite the advances that Potiphar's wife, Zleicha, attempted day after day, he was able to succeed. But you know what else was going on around? Everywhere that Yosef as-Sadiq was walking, the same thing happened with the opposite gender. They will throw flowers to him. They will throw perfume to him. They will throw garments to him.
Money.
And what happened? Money as well. And Yosef as-Sadiq walked around with his neck down. That's why, if you look in the Perashah, 2 Perashiyot ago, when the Pasuk says rather that Yosef Sadiq was appointed to become the viceroy of Egypt, the Pasuk writes, Vayasem Levida Zahav al Savaro. Paro placed a necklace, but it's not a regular necklace. Was a necklace that somehow kept the chin of Yosef high. Why did he give him such a valuable gift? So one of the Mefarshim says, you kept your head down not to see things that are forbidden to you, something that doesn't belong to you. We're going to give you a gift that is going to lift your head. So one more thing, it says in Gemara, he did not want to derive benefit from something that does not belong to him. This is the reason why you're not allowed to look at the opposite gender. If it's somebody else's wife, or if it's somebody that is forbidden to you, or somebody that is off limits to you as a man. Why there is a prohibition? Because it's davar she'eno shelo. If this person, this lady, is married to this husband, so she's completely off limits. If this lady is engaged to someone else, she is off limits. If she is related to you and a marital relationship is forbidden, she is off limits. If she is of a different religion, Gentile, etc., she is forbidden. But if a person looks at it, according to the Gemara, obviously, which it makes sense, that's why this is part of one of the concepts of the Shema. At the end of the Shema, what do we say? Don't follow your heart, don't follow your eyes. Why does the Torah put the heart in front of the eyes? Hazaku Baruch. The Gemara says that whatever the eye sees is preempted by the desires of the heart. That's why it says in the holy books, and this will finish, that a male or female, any Yehudi that is tempted to see something that is inappropriate or forbidden or out of line, and at that moment the person closes the eye or the person lowers the head, at that moment the person receives a very special, let's call it in English, godly light that only certain people qualify to receive it. Not everyone gets that kind of treatment. It's like you want to go free into, let's call it, into an airport lounge, right? Let's say you have 4 hours, you have to wait for your flight. Not everybody can go into that area, okay? Sometimes you pay for it, you one-day access, you gotta pay the price, or if you show certain type of credit cards, right? Hazaku Baruch, what they tell you, whatever, please, Mr. So-and-so, come in. Not, and how does the person that cannot come in feels when they see people coming in? Ooh, some of them you can take a shower. Some of them you can have a whole meal. You can sleep. I don't know if they have kosher meal, but definitely in Israel for sure. And in certain areas in the world, they do have a kosher section. I know this for a fact, that people told me about this. So, the same thing here. A person suddenly is walking on the street, and the Yetzer Hara makes a sudden appearance. Unexpectedly. You're coming from the right, he's coming from the left, and then you see something out of line. You close your eyes or you look down, be ready to receive a marvelous and wonderful beracha from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Why? Because you went against your own nature. You would have said, no, I'm looking to see the brand of sneakers that she's wearing. But I'm trying to see the nice garments. Has v'shalom. I'm not saying that it's easy. I'll finish with a story. Wait. a personal story that happened to me with some other member of the synagogue. You may have heard this from me in the past, but I think that is apropos to say it, especially in sunny Florida. You know, one of the challenges of living in a summer weather all year long is exactly the topic that we are discussing today. That the Yetzer Hara never goes on vacation here in South Florida. It's always, you know, it finds a beautiful weather to activate the Yetzer Hara. But we left the home, coming to the synagogue, and a fellow that walks with me to the shul tells me, Rabbi, don't look to the left because the Yetzer Hara is coming. Okay, I look to the right. He says, I tell to him, don't look to the right because the Yetzer Hara is coming. So he asked me, what are we going to do? He said, we look down. So what was down when we looked?
Money.
A magazine.
Oh no!
And I'm not talking about, we're not talking about Time magazine or Community magazine.
Not People's Magazine.
Maybe close to. Anyways, I don't remember the title. So he asked me, what do we do? He says, at this moment, we close our eyes and we walk. He said, for how long? I said, 10 feet. That's it, just walk. Don't lift your eyes until the danger is behind us. The danger means the Yetzer Hara. That's what it means. And then I explained to him exactly what we are saying now. That it says, Zoche, a person who in the face of challenge, is like we discussed last week, that a person has an opportunity to say something to bring the person down or to escalate the argument, and the person, what does he do? Bolem piv. The person says, you know what? I'm not going to react. And I'm not saying that it's easy to do what I'm saying. It takes effort and it takes a mindset. But believe me, sometimes when I'm on the street walking or driving, it happens. So I look down and I say to God, what are you doing this to me? Obviously, I don't get answers. Nisayon, Hazak Baruch.
How about if you are driving?
If you are driving, be careful. First of all,
Don't close your eyes.
don't break in the middle of the. No, relax. But I'll tell you one thing. If you are stopped by the red light, okay, let's say that this is you driving, and you stop by the red light because you need to stop because it's red.
That's another story.
Okay, wait. And someone is crossing because now they can cross. Don't keep looking. Look to the opposite direction. And be safe, obviously. Safety is above anything else. But we're talking about sometimes walking, sometimes running, sometimes people, do a lot of things, and occasionally the challenge is waiting for us. My dear friends, have a lovely day, everyone. Baruch Adonai Le'olam. Amen ve'amen. Rabbi Hananiah ben Akashia אומר, רצה הקדוש ברוך הוא לזכות את ישראל לפיכך, הרבה להם תורה ומצוות שנאמר, אדוני חפש למען צדקו, יגדיל תורה ויגדיל. קדיש.